Love your smile.
Look very handsome today. Thanks.
Howdy everybody and welcome back to the Willy St. Willy channel once again. And yes, you read that title correctly. Here today, I am once again talking about another horror alternate universe based off a beloved children's TV show. You guys seem to really enjoy the SpongeBob one I did, and I particularly liked reading all your comments, especially the ones saying that I sounded like Joe Swanson in my plankton voice. I get it, okay? I get it. You're starting to piss me off! Hey, Bader. Hey, Bader, you want to go down to the Krusty Krab? But the series we're talking about today is actually Steven Universe, and this one was actually recommended to me in the comment section, and I actually saw it here or there a few months back on TikTok and didn't really think too much of it, just kind of thought it was creepy. Now, admittingly, when it comes to Cartoon Network shows, I was more of an Adventure Time and regular show fan rather than Steven Universe. I did see multiple episodes, I know most or some of the overarching plot and the characters, but it just wasn't really my thing compared to like regular show was. But I enjoy it enough that I'm not going to shy away from talking about it here today.
What do your guts feel like?
Now, the series today is brought to us by Sir Johnald, and I took the liberty of checking out their art on Instagram and TikTok, and it's just filled with wonderful, wonderful art and of different varying fandoms and original characters. So I highly recommend you go check them out and support the original creator. And hey, tell them Willy sent you, okay? But the series in question for today's video is titled White Diamond and is a cosmic horror Lovecraftian spin on the Steven Universe and the origin of the diamonds. Now, after watching this video, I'm assuming you're already familiar with all of the lore and characters of Steven Universe, because let's face it, this is not a lore breakdown video of Steven Universe. I don't have the time to dissect the inner crevices of Rebecca Sugar's mind, okay? You're not gonna get that here, okay? So don't be asking all the hard questions about the lore to me, okay? I don't know it. I'm just here to talk about this fanfic, okay? That's all I'm here for. Even though it's a horror-themed video, take all your depraved Reddit questions about how Steven's dad managed to clap a space diamond alien someplace else, okay? It's a kid's show, for God's sakes! But speaking of disturbing topics, before I start the AU, just so you know, like with the SpongeBob video, this is gonna portray some family-friendly characters in a not-so-family-friendly light. So if you want to avoid any horror or disturbing topics, I suggest you just leave, okay? Just go watch something else. One of my other videos, preferably. Keep in mind, guys, this series is a lot less of a dramatic reading than the SpongeBob AU was that I read. There's some of that here, but a lot of it is like kind of lore dump, so it's kind of be like discussing, I guess, the overarching plot of the alternate universe, which is because a lot of this is based off just Instagram posts from Sir Johnald or a video from Infamous Synergy that helped me kind of condense everything into one area so I can like talk about it myself. So, you know, shout out to them again, right? But with that out of the way, without further ado, let's get into it. White Diamond was a beautiful creature. She was a pleasure to her people until the day she found herself guilty. She was banned from the heavens for wanting more power and forced to give up everything. She truly was a fool. She fell out of the heavens onto a sparse planet, where she then stayed. She quickly adapted to the planet, where she became interconnected with its core, learning how to create life out of nothing. She was a beautiful creature, but that beauty soon turned into power. She was so strong, she now controlled this planet as if she were a part of it. White Diamond was now the tree of life connected to the planet, a once beautiful angel, now a machine used to create life. As she became stronger, her mind weakened, only focusing on progressing, not realizing the consequences of her actions. As centuries passed, White Diamond finally perfected how to create another life form equal to her, using her own life source to create them. First was Yellow Diamond. She resembled an insect-like creature, almost like a wasp, intricate and alluring in her design, yet uncanny and inhuman. Every diamond born took life away from White, but she persisted. Blue Diamond was born hundreds of years later. She resembled a blue jellyfish with wistful hanging appendages and fleshy dangling eyes, and one large gaping mouth. This caused White to lose even more power, leaving her weak, but still having enough power to give birth to one last diamond, Pink Diamond, the weakest and most human-looking of all the diamonds, the perfect opposite to White. Pink was adorned with a head that resembled a rose with pale pinks and whites dancing throughout her body, yet she also possessed a skeletal structure and face that resembled an owl. After creating Pink, White Diamond lost all of her power and was left an emotionless husk. Welcome to the new Diamond Authority. Okay, so in the Steven Universe show, White Diamond is like the mother for all of the other diamonds, and she lives on Homeworld, which is the homeworld for all of the diamonds. Obviously, in this alternate universe, White Diamond is definitely more of a Lovecraftian type creature compared to a fallen angel. Like, I don't literally think it's trying to say she's an angel. I think that she's similar to a fallen angel in that she's a celestial being that was cast out from her other peers. And when she was cast out, she fell from grace in the heavens and landed on this sparse, empty, dead world that she soon turned into a haven where she can create life and even made other beings that were similar to her in power. I really think Sir Johnald tried to make White Diamond like Yggdrasil, like the world tree in Norse mythology, like where everything's interconnected to it, and she basically holds everything together, and she basically is like this massive superstructure that all life stems from. Now, obviously, because this AU is cosmic horror inspired, I see the similarities with Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, particularly with the god Azathoth in the Lovecraft mythos. Basically, if you guys don't know, in the Cthulhu mythos universe, the entire universe itself is basically just a dream. And all the living beings, including the gods themselves, like Nyarlathotep, Cthulhu, all of them, they all exist within Azathoth's dream, because whenever Azathoth wakes up, basically the world will end. But the only reason this universe even exists is because Azathoth is asleep. And all his children, which like Cthulhu and all the other gods and creatures that spawn from him, have constant tenders and lesser beings singing hymns and lullabies to him and playing instruments constantly to make sure that he doesn't wake up, or that at least they can delay the end of the universe as they know it for as long as possible. I kind of see similarities with that. Obviously, it's not to the same extent where White Diamond is literally creating the entire universe, but she's still like this eldritch horror being that all of the diamonds stem from, and they're like, it's like the mother deity, basically. I don't know. I just saw similarities with that because the creator themselves said that this is cosmic horror inspired. So sorry I had went on that little rant about the Cthulhu mythos, but I just wanted to tell you guys the similarities that I noticed. Okay, now we know the origin of the diamond, so let's continue on and see what else Sir Johnald has in store. The purpose of these new diamonds was to continue the legacy of creating life. With the passing millenniums, the universe continued to change, with the diamonds creating life. But the diamonds seemed to change themselves. Yellow diamonds seemed to form mandibles that could retract and open up into a wide gaping mouth, and her appendages seemed to form into hands. Blue diamonds seemed to form into a more humanoid appearance, having a decoy face and eyes that hid her true form under her cloak. Her true form resembling that of an anglerfish with many sets of dark, soulless eyes, and many appendages hanging from her body, with her decoy head, mouth, and eyes resting atop of her real head with many veins and fleshy ligaments supporting it. These new diamonds lorded over many different planets throughout the solar systems, and with Pink being the youngest, in time, they eventually gifted her her own planet, Earth. As Pink spent more time on Earth, she grew quite fond of the planet, its nature, its life and culture, especially the human race. And with that, she attempted to make herself look more humanoid, giving herself a curvy body and even retracting the large petals that stemmed from her head. As more time passed, she fell even deeper in love with the human race, so much so that her new form looked almost indistinguishable from an actual human, by donning a dress and jewelry and even giving herself hair and actualized facial features. Even though her diamond sisters disapproved of this, they never tried to stop her. But the time came when her diamond sisters wanted to destroy the planet Earth, and despite numerous attempts by Pink to get them to change their mind, the disagreement that Pink had with the other diamonds over the fate of planet Earth resulting in a rebellion against the diamonds, ending with Pink faking her death and shattering. This event shocked both Yellow and Blue. In an attempt to commemorate Pink's supposed death, they decided to make their appearance more humanoid in her honor. Yellow hid their many legs underneath a long flowing cloak and only left 2 arm-like appendages at their side, and even gave their 4 eyes pupils. Blue did a much better job at appearing human, almost like a marble statue of a Greek goddess, with a long, ghostly-looking blue cloak, an actualized human body. However, she still kept her bloodshot eyes. During the rebellion against the diamonds, a specific gem gained prominence. This is rose quartz. God damn. Rose kind of bad. I see you, Greg. Steven's dad. I see where he's coming from. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is just some fan art. Okay, calm down. Just some fan art. But you see what I mean? How you kind of have to know the lore of Steven Universe to know all the references, like the rebellion against the diamonds and the Crystal Gem War and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what I meant, that you might be missing some context if you don't know the lore of Steven Universe. But anyway, yeah, let's continue. There were many who stood with Rose as allies against the diamonds. These became known as the Crystal Gems. The rebellion resulted in the diamonds invading Earth and destroying the remaining crystal gems that were left on the surface. However, some of these rebels survived, these gems being Garnet and Pearl. Rose, Garnet, and Pearl were the only ones of the rebellion that remained, with the rest either being destroyed or turned into twisted, corrupt monsters. As time passed, the diamonds retreated back to Homeworld, with the crystal gems staying on Earth. And over time, they discovered a new, young gem named Amethyst. Amethyst lived with and eventually joined the crystal gems and accompanied them on many different adventures after the war. As the years passed, though, Rose eventually met a human that she fell in love with and decided to have a child with him. This child was named Steven. However, once Steven was born, Rose, or otherwise known as Pink, was able to reform herself as a chrysalis inside of Steven that eventually bloomed and rebirthed herself from him. As the years went by, Steven and his adventures with the crystal gems spread beyond that of Earth, and word had gotten back to Homeworld of a young boy who could potentially threaten their entire planet. Out of fear and desperation, Blue and Yellow ate the rotting corpse of White, hoping to gain some sort of newfound power by doing so. However, in the end, it was all in vain. The second gem war had already started and ended with the shattering of Yellow and Blue Diamond. After the deaths of Yellow and Blue, the citizens of Homeworld were liberated and the tyranny of the diamonds was finally over. Steven continued to help the people of Homeworld and even go on his own adventures, until eventually making his way back home to Earth. And there you have it, everyone. That is White Diamond by Sir Johnald. I hope you guys had fun with that. It was a fun little retelling. It was, like I said, less of a dramatic reading, but more of just me kind of going over the plot of it. And some of the details I probably kind of went over my head because, like I said, I never watched all of Steven Universe. But luckily for us, Sir Johnald made a frequently asked questions page about this AU, so I'll go over that real quick and read it. What is the Steven Universe AU about? I made this AU with the purpose of it being a cosmic horror retelling of the events of the diamonds and how they came to be, especially White Diamond. These events slowly leading to Steven's birth and how instead of him redeeming the diamonds, a second gem war broke out. Was White Diamond actually an angel? Why was she banished from the heavens? White Diamond was deemed the title of an angel, a being of light from the heavenly principles. She was banished for wanting more power. Because of the banishment, this led to her being cast onto a sparse planet that would soon become Homeworld. Why does White Diamond look so human? Is there a reason why she looks so similar to Pink? White Diamond's design was made to look more human because the idea of a being not from Earth looking unusually human is more scary than people think. Originally she wasn't meant to look like Pink, but eventually I leaned more into the idea of it being a cycle, that what gave birth to these beings somehow looks like the last thing she gave life to, which was an interesting idea. Why did the other diamonds look so alien-like? Does the rest of Homeworld look the same? White Diamond has 2 branches on her head that connected to the Homeworld's core that eventually became the Tree of Life. later giving birth to the diamonds. As a result, they took on the forms of what Homeworld was able to produce, which shockingly looked similar to that of Earth life. Yellow looked like an insect, blue looked like a deep-sea creature, and pink looked like a flower. The rest of Homeworld looked similar to their diamonds due to this. Was White Diamond evil in this AU? How did she give birth if the gems are made of light? White Diamond was in fact just as evil as her canon counterpart. If so, even more evil, being that she had no remorse killing anything in her way. Only the diamonds were organic, meaning they had organs. This is how Steven was born, which is how they were able to produce other gems themselves. Later on, with the advancement of Homeworld's technology, they could later make gems with materials found from other planets, eventually leading to the kindergartens. Did she die after giving birth to Pink Diamond? Why did she even give birth to them? White Diamond lost a form of her power after every diamond was born, resulting in her death after Pink Diamond, the weakest of the diamonds, due to White Diamond's lack of power towards the end. Although she knew she would die, she wanted her diamonds to carry on the legacy and take over other planets. Was this AU inspired by Evangelion? This AU was indeed inspired by Evangelion, although it was also inspired by other series like Devilman Crybaby, Madoka Magica, haven't watched that one, and religious imagery. I mean, that's kind of obvious, that was kind of cool. Yeah, the Evangelion reference, I thought it was, like, I kind of went over my head because I haven't watched Evangelion in like many years, so I don't remember all of it. But I did notice some of the similarities, but in the cosmic horror, there was definitely Lovecraft vibes. Thought it was really cool, and the religious imagery was really cool. What happened after White's death? After White Diamond died, the diamonds found it upon themselves to keep the body, seeing as their deity had just gifted them with life. Deity, sorry. They couldn't bear with leaving it be. Did Pink Diamond still leave Homeworld? Why did the diamonds take on multiple forms? After millenniums have passed, the diamonds would eventually start changing their forms. Especially Pink Diamond. After Pink was gifted the Earth, she fell in love with its life, culture, music, and especially its humans. She took it upon herself to start making herself looking more human, which the diamonds disapproved of, but never tried to stop her. This eventually led to her faking her death after failed attempts of convincing her sisters to spare the planet Earth. This led to Yellow Diamond and Blue's grief, and decided to change their forms to look more human as well, as a way to commemorate Pink. What events still took place within the show in your AU? My AU was retelling on how the diamonds came to be and after the cluster erupts. This eventually leads to the diamonds finding out that their precious cluster hadn't destroyed Earth, later leading to them finding out about Steven's being and that he is Pink Diamond. What happens after it's revealed that he's Pink Diamond? This led to a huge fight that eventually started the Second Gem War. Because of the Second Gem War, Yellow and Blue took it upon themselves to take out White Diamond's old corpse, eat the lower half with the hopes that it would give them some divine power to help destroy Steven and the Earth. Sticking the decaying corpse onto a huge pole, perform a seance, and make them stronger than before. Of course this didn't work, and this led to the deaths of both Yellow and Blue Diamond, leaving Homeworld to be free. Okay, I totally missed the seance, the corpse part. Sorry, totally missed that part. How did Rose turn into Steven if she was organic? Because of the fact that Pink was the weakest, her powers worked similar to the rest of Homeworld. So after Steven was born, it was similar to that of a chrysalis. Her body had died and outbloomed Steven. What did the heavens look like? What did the other angels look like as well? The heavens were something that the human mind couldn't comprehend or grasp. It's similar to trying to think of a new color, although it's always okay for the viewer's interpretation of how they think the heavens looked like. As for the other beings, they looked nothing like white. White was the only human-looking one, whereas the other angels looked horrifying beings of light. Looked like horrifying beings of white, sorry. Shifting faces, their bodies always contorted, and they were always beings you just couldn't comprehend. Did the crystal gems also look different while on Homeworld? Yes, the crystal gems look very different than what they looked like on Earth, being that they took on the forms of humans to blend in a bit better. Pearl looked like a sea serpent, Sapphire looked like a sea butterfly, whereas Ruby looked like a beetle and Amethyst looked like a puppet, ready to take on the form of her surroundings. Will you be adding on to this AU? As much as I love this AU, there is nothing more to add. I just like drawing fan art time to time. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is the frequently asked questions that I read out from the creator of the AU. So, yeah. Once again, shout out to Sir Johnald for making this alternate universe. I'm going to leave their Instagram and TikTok in the description below, so feel free to check them out. And I had a lot of fun with that AU. Like I said, I'm familiar with some of the Steven Universe lore, but some of that I had to like refresh my memory. Like as I was reading some of it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like from the show, because I remember it like still coming on and making new episodes when I was like younger years ago. So it was pretty cool AU. I liked the horror aspects of it because having these eldritch space diamond deities interfere in the daily lives of these lesser creatures on other planets is just a really cool concept. And I also like the religious imagery and the Lovecraftian cosmic horror nature of some of the origin stories of the diamonds. I really like that a lot. And not every AU is created equal. If I'm gonna go through the effort of talking about an AU, I want it to at least be either really good or like laughably bad. Like I want it to be like the worst alternate universe known to mankind, where we can all laugh at it. If it's anything in between, like it's not really groundbreaking or provoking in any way, then it's just inoffensive and boring. Like why would I even talk about that? But guys, let me know in the comments below if there's any more quirky little weird horror or alternate universes or any other weird oddities and series that you want me to talk about, because I'll be sure to at least check it out and, you know, give you credit for it, for recommending it to me at least. So just let me know in the comment below, or just comment something nice and make me feel really good about myself. I mean, either way it works, I don't mind. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and just in case I don't see you, stay safe and have a good one. Goodbye. Creepy. Shut up, bitch.